The 2004 Mitsubishi Motors Badminton Horse Trials was blighted by the worst of the British weather, but still managed to put on a thrilling competition. 80 of the world's top riders battled their way through the mud over 4 days of competition. Could Pippa Funnell make it an unprecedented 3 wins on the bounce? Or would William Fox Pitt finally break his badminton duck? The Overseas Challenge was spearheaded by New Zealand's Andrew Nicholson and Australia's Andrew Hoy. So sit back and enjoy the best of the action. Well, conditions were already pretty bleak on the first morning, the Thursday morning, but those who braved the appalling conditions were eagerly awaiting the test of the reigning champion, Pippa Funnell, on Sue Bunn's 14-year-old stallion Viceroy. And to take you through the dressage action, I'm delighted to welcome Mike Tucker.
Well, 11 combinations that have 2 rides at badminton, so the grand jury immediately have a lot of the cream at this year's badminton. And who better to set an early standard than the former European champion, the Grand Slam winner, Pippa, giving Viceroy and her second ride, Cornerman, a chance at the very top level, and resting other horses such as Primor's Pride with Athens in mind. The dressage test, the one designed by Chris Bartle, brought in 2002 and has been acknowledged as a really good test. It really uses the actions and movements that are so integral to the cross-country and the show jumping, but at the same time gives an important aspect of watchability as far as the crowds are concerned. And immediately Pippa sets a very high standard. The horse has to be in balance, keeping that shape. Nice rhythmical half pass. Very few stallions at the top level in 3-day eventing, but this is one that has shown a lot of promise without really having a chance. The top was third at Petplan Blenheim in the autumn of 2003, and look at that for an extension. That'll score highly. Where this girl is so very good in this phase. She rides such an accurate test. As we now turn our attentions to Bumble Thomas with the sophologist. Bumble, another Ruth McMullen pupil, who's produced a lot of very good young horses, but this looks one good enough to go right to the very top. Has competed at 4-star level quite successfully. Nice change. Now what about the walk? Perhaps a shade hurried. The grand jury headed by Angela Tucker, the president, Kees Verlenger from Holland and Alain James from France. Nice and relaxed. And for a horse that's a 3-day event fit, that's not easy. Bumble has the advantage of being very tall and elegant. That helps, but she also sits very well. Got a very good position. And these days, in this all-round ability sport, it's just as important the rider is technically absolutely spot on as the horse. Good walk. It's a long, long way. You've got to be patient. Now, what about the rein back? Again, doesn't rush back. Goes back the correct number of paces and a good strike off, clean. So a good mark for the sophologist, finishing on 48.6 as Megan Jones, paying her first visit to badminton on the very big horse, Kirby Park Irish Hallmark. Big horse, small jockey this, but they impressed in the World Cup final in Po. The difficulty for Megan is to retain the control across country because he's very strong. Nice flying change. Again, keeping the shape, keeping the rhythm. No swinging of either the horse or the rider's body. And a very good picture from behind there, where you can see the horse straight as a die and Megan just asking the question and the horse responding immediately.
And that test would put Megan Jones into the lead after the first day. Indeed, Australia had 3 of the first 4 on the Thursday evening, but it was all to play for on the Friday. And the first we see is another Australian, probably the leading Australian here, Andrew Hoy on Mr. Prakatan.
Well, another very damp morning after some pretty steady rain overnight, but the arena holding up pretty well, giving the horses still a good chance to show their paces, which of course is important. And this is a horse that's been very consistent from Andrew and does move and perform in the mud, and they might have to both in today's dressage and across the country tomorrow. Andrew's wife Bettina, of course, one of the renowned world experts as far as 3-day event dressage is concerned, and since they've been married, this man's dressage skills have improved enormously. He's a great technician, really looks at the whole business in detail and doesn't leave much to chance. Again, note his position, absolutely perfect. The shoulders, hips and the heels all in line, beautifully straight back, sitting deep and just asking the horse to extend. And see now if he comes back. Change of pace, very smooth. So Pippa Funnell's second ride, Cornerman, a horse that went well here last year, and this horse is a very extravagant mover. Look at that. That'll probably get a 9 or 2. There haven't been that many 9s. Pippa, the winner of the 2 previous Badminton, but she's come here in a very philosophical mood, really, because she says she doesn't necessarily feel she's riding winners. She's got 2 very good horses, but she feels the pressure's off. And psychologically, I think that must be very good for Pippa. You just hear Cornerman sneezing, and that's very often a sign of tension, although he looks absolutely relaxed. Just a little fussy in his head, and that could lose a mark. You'll notice he's just taking an odd stride, a little bit shorter than others, and that's purely the going. It's rained steadily all afternoon. You can see the track muddy. It's not deep, but it's very easy to lose the rhythm. Well, here's a man who's never won Badminton, William Foxpitt and Tamarillo, a horse that's been off for 12 months, ran in the dressage here last year, and then hasn't been seen again, but is now fit, and William hopes ready to do himself justice. Owned by the Honourable Mary Guinness. And the horse just a little fussy. You can see the tail swishing, and every now and then just not as steady in the head carriage, although a good counter-canter and a pretty good flying change, but he's just on the edge, this horse. But there's no one better to look the part and try and give the horse confidence and carry themselves through it. The horse, you can see, just half thinking about changing. The counter-canter here, it's really so easy to do a flying change. It really highlights the importance of obedience, this. Remember, they do one serpentine where they do change, and then the next serpentine they don't change. Again, you can see for yourself just a little unsteady in the head carriage, and it means he won't score so highly. But even so, he is performing a test that'll put himself, and another mark gone there, I would suggest. You saw the tail go, the head come up. But William, known to be a skilled operator, and so often that will gain you an extra mark or two. And I think probably Tamarillo and William Fox-Pitt are going to have a pretty good mark, although I can't see it going into the lead.
Well, the score he had to beat was 40.8 by Pippa Funnell, just ahead of Andrew Hoy on 41. And quite surprisingly, he got an equal mark to Pippa Funnell of 48.8 to put him into the joint lead. Fantastic start for William Fox-Pitt. The very last to go then on the Friday afternoon. Andrew Nicholson for New Zealand on Lord Killinghurst. This combination third at Burghley last year. Could they go better here?
Threatened as he came through the gates to just get over the top of it, but Andrew settled him, and he looks if he's now got him back on track. Lord Killinghurst owned by Mr. and Mrs. Robin Salmond, and a horse that has promised a lot, originally ridden by Owen Moore, but since Andrew's been riding it, it is a horse that has always promised a lot, but has been off through injury and has been brought back steadily and looks as well now as he's ever done. And here's a man who's won so many big titles, but not this one. But a horse that is not known to like the mud, so it'll be very much up to Andrew's skills now. And he is another competitor who really has worked on his dressage phase. You notice there he changes the bend as he changes the half pass to the right. Free moving horse, and again well shown there in the extended trot, although we have seen more exaggerated movers. Cornerman was one, but he is so very steady in his outline. The conditions remain pretty consistent. Not the best, but not bad. A great tribute to the badminton team here that they've kept this arena in such good nick. And that's a good walk. That is a very good walk. Very relaxed, long, even strides. And he now walks right up to the other end of the arena, and it's a long, long way. It seems an age, and this is where the rider's temperament is truly tested. Got to stay cool, calm, and pass that on to the horse. It's a long way for those 10 marks. Just not quite square. But again, despite the mud, and it's pretty sticky there, he'll get very good marks for that halt. One of the interesting situations is that the position of the judges, of course, have changed over the last 2 years. One judge on the side, two on the end. They really do see different pictures, and sometimes as a result you'll get slightly different marks. Good flying change. And a really good extended canter, and comes back very nicely too. You can see the change of pace, nearly breaks back into trot. And this is the part of the test that really tests the obedience The rider has got to keep the aids correct, and the horse hasn't got to anticipate and change. That's until he comes to A, when there's the flying change, right on the button. And that'll score well again. This definitely is a test that is going to be right at the very top. Good enough out of thought to take the lead. Consistently high marks throughout the test. Don't think I've ever seen Andrew Nicholson ride a test better. Absolutely straight, very good picture. So often when they do that flying change, you'll see the horses swing and not keep straight, but absolutely straight through all the flying changes. And despite threatening as he came in the gates to boil over, this horse has stayed relaxed, given a great shape and a great mark.
Yes, a great mark indeed. Into the lead for Andrew Nicholson on 36.6. He's never been better than fifth here at Badminton throughout his illustrious career, but now he has a great chance of taking the ultimate prize in the sport of eventing. In equal second, Great Britain's top two, Pippa Funnell and William Fox Pitt, with Andrew Hoy for Australia in fourth, and indeed Australia had 5 in the top 10. It was all set up for the cross country. As 2004 is Olympic year, we asked event director and course designer Hugh Thomas whether he had made any concessions to the riders.
Both the steeplechase and the cross country are just a fraction shorter. I think this is a concession to the psychology rather than the reality, if truth were told. But, you know, the theory is that it might take just a little bit less out of the horses if they're going to go on to a big competition in Athens. And we've done that 3 or 4 times before when the major national annual championship comes as early, you know, in August or something, rather than in late September. As far as the course is concerned, no, we try to maintain an even standard year by year. I don't always succeed, but the theory is it's a top-level event. It's one of the biggest and most difficult in the world, and that we try to set out our stall and pretty well stick to it.
Well, Mike, take us around this cross-country course with its 32 fences and 43 jumping efforts.
Starts in the main ring over a very inviting first fence, and then the big keeper's brush at fence 2, which again, bold, inviting fence to get underway. Down little badminton drop with a big spread to follow, and then to the first new fence, 2 palisades, the ground is palisades, 5 strides between on descending ground, again with a direct line which could save a little bit of time. A long gallop across this famous badminton turf over the big shooting butt, leading on to the first big combination on the course, the Shogun Hollow. Competitors are now 3 minutes into the course, and there's been a lot of galloping. So course designer has immediately created quite a big turn to let the horses get back into jumping mode before they come to the Shogun Hollow. 2 major choices here. We either go down the right-hand side and jump this first element right up by the red flag, or indeed we go right to the left-hand side by the white flag, take more time, give yourself more room, and actually have more time for the horse to recover between the close efforts. Well, this Shogun Hollow shows you really how quick the horse and rider have got to think, and where courage and agility really comes into question. What is regarded as the quick route down the left-hand side here, you can see the rail is at the top of quite a steep slope, with then one very quick shuffle over the ditch, up the bank and out over another rail. 3 very quick efforts that come very quickly. The horses and riders will want to be very sure of their footing and also very sure of their actual stride pattern. On the right-hand side, you've got more room. You can see here there's much more room. There's another stride between the rail in and the ditch. It gives the horses and riders more time to think. And again, the third element of this particular part of it is further away. So horses and riders have got more time to actually recover from any error they might make. Well, I think there may be a third route. And sometimes as a course designer, you don't always see the routes the riders see. If you look back down here at fence 7 by the red flag, there is a very direct line crossing over to the long side. And that, of course, gives you more room, as we said earlier, down this long side between the elements. If that proves the case, this could be the route through the Shogun Hollow. The questions come thick and fast, and the pinion bank is one of the most impressive fences, quickly followed by a ditch and a sharp turn to a big bullfinch. Complacency here could cost a lot. Then a big oxer, a big parallel bar, followed then by the first water combination, the Colt Pond, a bounce being the direct route through. From there, a maximum height and spread of Mike Weaver's hay cart, and then to 2 corners which really require a lot of accurate riding and probably will be one of the more influential combinations on the course. But now to the Pony Club Sunken Road, where Mark Phillips awaits.
This is the Sunken Road, one of the traditional fences at Badminton. The most difficult way is right here, where the horses have to have a short, bouncy canter, have a very small space to land on, before a very tricky distance in the bottom of the road, turning left and up over the last element. I think that's so difficult that very few people are going to do it, because horses travel much better in a straight line. I think most people will take the alternative, which is going to finish up being quicker, safer and easier. They'll come inside the tree, jump this first element at a slight angle, and they've then got plenty of room to land and come back to a trot or even a walk before dropping down into the sunken road, where they can make certain of the 2 strides and then up the far side, 1 stride and out over 15D.
So from there, a long gallop to the fences at the lake, with the Mitsubishi double cabs being the introduction to then the 2 hedges which create the opening of the Badminton Lake Overture. The importance of the turn into it will be dependent on the confidence of horse and rider into the water. 4 strides, we hope, over a big spread, 4 more strides and up the step, and then a narrow test to complete the fences there. A relative let up over the big Wadsworth barrels, and then on to the Huntsman's Close. And here, Sue Benson takes us through.
So here we've got a very upright fence, and all designers want to include a gate in their courses at this level, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that at all. This comes a little late in the course for complete comfort for riders, but as a designer I think this is a perfectly fair fence. It's got a nice ground line and it's to be respected, and I like it. But it is followed by 3 more serious jumping efforts in the wood, and that is where the real problems begin. I think the designer's mind here is on control and steering. There are 3 or 4 more, actually 4 more fences to jump, and they're all in amongst the trees. And so riders need to learn which line they want to take, bearing in mind they've got these 3 twisty fences in the trees. These are bigger spreads and need a little bit more pace, and I think under normal circumstances it's fairly straightforward jumping exercise, but towards the end of the course these become quite serious questions. Horses are beginning to get muscularly a little tired, and twisting and turning is tiring. So this fence and 22, 23 and 24 all on the turn I think are quite demanding, but having said that, I think it's a very good question. So, as I was saying, riders don't really like upright gates, particularly towards the end of the course. Here they have to come through this narrow gap if they want to square up and make a proper turn to this gate. And there will be crowds all around this fence, and I think riders will treat this with great respect. And I know that to jump 1 gate on a course is quite enough, but to have to jump 2 in fairly quick succession will be quite a tough question for them.
Fence 26 is the elephant trap, just testing confidence. But then the Outlander tree trunks are a final test of accuracy, with a big test of stamina now coming over an airy footbridge into the countryside quarry. Here there are 2 routes out. The most direct route with a pheasant feeder right on the top of a steep bank, with the alternative route taking much longer but with an easier approach. So to the last test to make sure horse and rider are working together. 1 final big spread with then 2 options to jump narrow fences. 1 very tight, very risky, and 1 with less risk. Then it's home into the arena, hopefully to the cheering crowd over the last of the Badminton fences.
Well, the first horse set out on Phase A, the roads and tracks, at 10:30, and we caught up with the president of the ground jury, Angela Tucker, at the start and asked her about the conditions.
Luckily, you know, they were very aware of the forecast, and the team here are very on the ball. So we've been prepared for a wet weekend. The rider representatives and the technical delegate all worked together with us, and the riders made some very sensible suggestions which have been carried out, which is halfway through the competition. The bollards will be put on the steeplechase, so we move on to fresh ground halfway through. And they went round yesterday morning and again this morning, checking all the takeoffs on the fences, particularly the narrow fences where everybody goes in one place. So they did a lot of work on that last night, which we went and looked at on our way home after the dressage. So hopefully the forecast is a little bit better this afternoon, and so I think we'll be in for a very good day.
The optimum time for the steeplechase initially was 4 minutes, but due to the worsening conditions it was twice extended during the afternoon. And indeed, maybe this is hastening the end of this phase in the 3-day competition. Who knows? Then another 6,550 metres of roads and tracks before the start of the cross-country. And for the early starters, the weather was not kind. It started to rain again at 11 o'clock, as it had the previous 2 days. In fact, it poured with rain. So the early starters were in for a wet ride, as we see Pippa Funnell and the stallion Viceroy setting off to a huge cheer. Such is the popularity of this girl.
And the riders will certainly be watching Pippa and the early competitors, because judgment's going to play a part, and they'll be wanting to know just how much. And Caroline Pratt, well, she had a disastrous start to badminton. Primitive Control has known that he can be a monkey in the dressage, but I've never known him pull poor Caroline's leg more. And for someone who's so highly skilled, it really was a rotten start. But already across country, he's been very impressive and really only played with his course as he approaches the lake. Interesting turn in, of course, and then all chucks in. Really nearly unseats Caroline, and that takes some doing. But very impressively through after that. And a little lapse from Caroline because she's gone the wrong route and she's going to have to come back. There is a little bit of a crossroads there, and that is not going to lead her to the next fence, and I think she's beginning to realise. You can see her looking right. Where's the fence? And it's not up there.
Well, that is extraordinary, and poor girl, it really did sum up her badminton. After the disaster of the dressage, she's really lost her way. But eventually she got back on track as we pick up Sarah Cutteridge on her first ride. Exclusive Imp coming now to the Hunt Kennels.
64 dressage, so Sarah Cutteridge off the pace. But the line here, absolutely important. Sarah Cutteridge from the potential squad, really getting a good line through there. Well, now Pippa on Viceroy at the hollow. And as we thought, going on the right of the first and then crossing over to the easier side of the coffin itself. And that has lost in no time, surely. Into a lovely rhythm now, Viceroy, as he goes down to the pin and bank. This looks enormous. Big ditch in front of the step. And then, of course, the land just drops away behind. You look as if it's jumping into space. And a quick tap behind the saddle as Viceroy and Pippa Funnell come round to this ditch. They really have got to jump this ditch. Pops across it, 1, 2, and that's a good line. Again, that's the fence all about lines.
At the lake, Sarah Cutteridge, Exclusive Imp. This is the first time there's sort of been a switchback here at the lake. So they are going towards the crowd, then this sharp turn back in. And this is a big fence. And 3 strides there, 3 or 4. And he's a big, long striding horse, this. And he makes nothing of it. And then a sharp right-hand turn. She's got it right. And along the side of the lake.
Viceroy now at the sunken road. And this looks the popular route. Trots, and that's to get 2 strides in here. Gets them. And makes it look very easy indeed. Sarah Cutteridge at the angled logs now in the last quarter of the course. Horse owned by Anne Marshall. Anne Marshall, who really found Sarah Cutteridge, and now she's on the edge of possible selection, I would have thought, for the British team, even for the Olympics. Very talented rider. The lottery funding has done great work for Sarah. And you'll note about 40 seconds left before the penalties start clocking up. Her dressage 64.8.
So to Pippa at the Lake. Viceroy's been a little bit sticky. She had to give him a little tap with the whip after the pin in bank. But he seems to have got his act together and he's jumping well. Ooh. Yeah, a little bit. There's 4 strides there. That's 4 strides there. Yeah, that's probably what a lot of them will do. She's having to use all her skill here, Pippa, because he's not going brilliantly. But so far, so good.
Well, here's William Fox Pitt's first horse, Moon Man, owned by Sally Johnson. Again, another one to come across on the angle, and it seems to be jumping very well indeed. Misses out the more difficult test on the left. Well, now Flush Banker, owned by Jane Marsh, ridden by Andrew Nicholson, coming to the dog kennel. Rather cocks his jaw and doesn't give Andrew a chance to adjust himself for that next corner and runs past. So that's 20 penalties for Andrew Nicholson's first ride. He doesn't waste much time, but he has to sit very tight as he takes the alternative to get out and back on track.
Well, that would have unseated many a rider, but not Andrew Nicholson, as Pippa comes to the Huntsman's close, and down goes Pippa Funnell. Well, now that is a sight you don't often see. Let's see it again on the slow motion, and he just leaves a leg and gives her absolutely no chance, and stands on her wrist, I think. Yes, she's holding her left arm. So what will happen now? Chris King on Lucinda Green's former ride, Misdemeanor, coming to the Hunt Kennels.
Chris King, another exciting, less experienced rider, but with a lot of talent. As Moon Man comes through Huntsman's Close to the Australian wine garden, these little huts, all that come very close together, 3 strides to that, then turning back left-handed, and that's the difficult turn, and in fact just pops across it, and then the gate to come out. They all come thick and fast, and they really need control and accuracy quite late on the course. Followed by the Old Elephant Trap. Quite a big effort. He's now less than a mile from home.
Misdemeanor at the Lake. This honest mare really giving all for Chris King. Oh, just got the 4 strides in. And so far, this is riding very well. Nicely through there as we see the helicopter take off, and that's Pippa Funnell going to the hospital to have a check out. Will she be back in time to ride Cornerman?
Well, now it's the young Australian Sam Griffiths, Private Colin, a horse bred by the Fletchers. Graham and Tina Fletcher was well placed at Blenheim last year, looked impressive, and this is a man that might collect the attention of the Australian selectors.
Towards the end of the course, Moon Man coming to the Quarry, and Moon Man has down tools. And that is not good news. That's both of the top British riders out on early in the competition. My word, there's going to be some exciting action this afternoon.
Well, now we're back with Chris King at the last, and that's a first ever completion at his first attempt for Chris King, found by Jane and David Tolley, and he's done very well indeed. He's into the lead in these early stages. A minute over, note that, but a time, or penalty rather, of 86 puts him the best score in the clubhouse. And there in that maroon jacket, the 6 times badminton winner, Lucinda Green, enjoying that moment. She did all the early work on this horse.
Matthew Wright in the purple. This horse usually ridden by Lucy Vigersmar, but Lucy injured, so Matthew Wright comes in for the ride at these angle logs, and this horse has been flying across the country for the 21-year-old, the youngest rider in the competition. Jane had no hesitation, Jane Starkey, that is the owner, had no hesitation of putting this fella up because he's a really good young rider. And he's very bold coming into the Quarry, so he goes the long way. He really had no chance of turning tight, and that will put 10 seconds on his time. But a good round by In the Purple and Matthew Wright.
Well, here's Private Colin, Sam Griffiths. coming to the Pony Club Sunken Road. The Pony Club celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. And again, just eases back to a trot, gets the 2 strides. That's the popular route through there now. So it's Marie Ryan, former Marie Sleet, with Penny Royal, the only husband and wife combination competing here, and just rather hesitates on top of that bank, loses the impulsion, and Penny Royal says, I don't think I want to do that, another look. And in fact, Marie puts up her hand and retires.
Sam Griffiths at Huntsman's Close. This is very, very tight, particularly the turn to the 3rd log house. This one's all right, but you see how tight this is. It really is tight, and he's done that very well, but it's a really big effort for the horses. A lot of jumping efforts coming very close together. And at the end of a course with the ground riding dead, not badly, but certainly dead, it's a really big effort for these horses. But he's going well for Australia.
Well, here's another Australian now, Bill Levitt, with the first of 2 rides. Muddy Chuddy, well named this horse. Again, taking that route through, forceful riding by Bill Levitt, and certainly as well as anyone through there in these early stages. But here now is Sam Griffiths coming home on private, Colin. This young horse has gone well. He too is going to be about a minute over, but this could be the new leader in the very early stages of this Mitsubishi cross-country day. 62 seconds over, 64 actually, and he goes on to 78, and he's the best score so far.
Yes, that's not a bad score, and here's one though that could better it. Bumble Thomas on the Physologist coming to this Shogun Hollow, and I think we're going to see that this route across to the far side is the one that most of them are going to take. Yeah. Walking it the day before, Mark Phillips was there with a few riders, and they all said, well, this is the way to ride it, and that's what they're doing. She gallops on to the pinion bank.
10th at Burley last year, and that's when this combination was really noted. And they look so much more confident this year, really riding to get a good time. And this a lady that's come through that great school of Ruth McMullen. Remember, Pippa Funnell came through there, and a whole host of other riders. And this is a horse that's got scope to burn.
First timer, 23-year-old Emily Baldwin for Lamberhurst in Kent. Welton Sparkle. She was a former junior team gold medalist in 1998. Nicely through that early combination.
Well, here's the Sophologist coming to the Pony Club Sunken Road. Everyone just pulls back to a trot, just drops in, and that's a big horse and can still get in 2 strides. 5 minutes 10 seconds to left on the clock as Dick Waygood, the riding master of the Household Cavalry, and Master Fred come to the turning fence, going very wide. Oh, and he just drops into the ditch and gives Captain Waygood no hope of staying there. In fact, he falls to his knees, and there's a horse fall, which does mean compulsory retirement.
Yes, he'd had a fall earlier at fence 3, the Little Badminton drop, so not a good day for the captain as the Physologist comes to the lake, and he's going really well, this horse. 3 minutes 50 as she jumps into the lake. That's a time to note, and again another one that just pitches forward. It'll be interesting to see as the day develops whether a few of them get really unbalanced there and have problems later on, but she recovers and going well, galloping towards Badminton House.
Well, now it's the young Australian Megan Jones, her first ever badminton, Kirby Park Irish Hallmark.
17.3 that horse. It's a lot of horse for her to control, but this is a little horse. Just 15.3 this Welton mare, Welton Sparkle. Nicely in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, well, that is very spectacular. A little unlucky. I think the horse just seemed to slip as he went to take off and dumped poor Emily in the lake.
33-year-old Bumble Thomas and the Sophologist at the last turning fence. This horse owned and bred down in Cornwall, bred by Judy Ramsey, owned by Richenda Broad and Colin Rawlings. And this horse on the Olympic shortlist has done nothing wrong. They could come right into the reckoning for Athens. Remember, had that good dressage score, which put her on 48.6. She's going to be less than a minute over the time, and that is the new leader, 69.8, and that really has put Bumble Thomas right into the reckoning in Badminton 2004.
Now Megan Jones coming to the Shogun Hollow. Will she go across? Yes. They're all going this way, and it's riding really well. Pops across there, bit of a stumble, but very good. He is a big horse for this girl to control, though.
Well, here's John Evans with Royal Brigadoon. Season campaigner John, nice to see him with a decent horse, and it's gone well. Owned by Mr. and Mrs. Michael Sissons. Sit up, John. This is the turn, and in fact, he pops out. These are all numbered independently, so he can do that. Of course, he loses time, but he doesn't get any penalties for crossing tracks or anything like that. It gives himself to get balanced again and come to this gate. 2 gates near the end of the course is quite a test. Good jumping horse, and they've just kept a steady pace. He's behind the clock. Now, what about Megan Jones? Big horse, this. He's actually got a driving bit on, so Megan can control him. Coming in quite steadily, rather dives at the first, gets him back. Pops in, oh, and just crumples up on landing. Doesn't actually fall himself, but unships Megan. And one might just say that that's where being a small jockey with short legs sometimes is a disadvantage.
To another first-timer, 39-year-old Alan Winter on the 15-year-old bay mare Kelson Endeavour at the sporting turn, and just ran out of impulsion there. Trusted the mare, and she just said, not so sure about that. Still, on he goes, turns around and jumps it perfectly well the next time.
Well, this is one of the Irish competitors, Becky George, Wee Hot Toddy, being based with the Buller Stable up in Northern Ireland, trained by Jill Watson mostly, Becky. Still 1:30 seconds to get home. Goes a little bit wide there and has to turn back for the gate now. But pops over that well enough. There's a lot of time to be saved with a good line through there, but no one anywhere near that optimum time of 11 minutes 30 at the moment.
Another first-timer for New Zealand, a Mark Todd protege, Tim Price, 25-year-old from New Zealand. This combination winning Puinui in 2002. So their experienced combination. Now, how will he get on here? Oh! Well, recover from that, but he's lost his way a bit, really lost his striding there, and he's taking the alternative. Oh, well, was a sort of combination of errors, really, wasn't it? Just sort of got worse and worse. So, 20 penalties for Tim Price.
Well, here's Ruth Friend on Krista Brown's Master Couture, a ride that she only took on a month or so ago, and she's done well. It's a horse that hasn't got vast experience, but she's safely round a minute 45 over, and she's moved on to 111.6, but again, more experience, and all in a good cause for the talented Ruth Friend. But now Polly Williamson-Topping jumps in very boldly and then starts to fight a little bit and literally switches off almost and comes to a halt. So back again for this very big jumping horse. Ridden in a gag because he is quite strong, but sometimes that may be a disadvantage for Polly. This time more forceful riding. Doesn't actually fight Polly this time, doesn't look that enthusiastic, one has to say, but goes on and pops the wrong side of the fence. Obviously angry about that refusal and just not concentrating.
40-year-old Vicky Brake, Charlton Connor, competed here in 2000, 19th in 2002. Coming to the first water, the Charisma Pond. This is a long bounce into water with a big drop, and Charlton Connor wasn't very Very enthusiastic, but as this is a black flag alternative, she can now go round and jump the alternative out. This black flag system perfectly illustrated there. Scrambles out, but 20 penalties for Vicky Brake.
Vicky's other very good horse sold to Caroline Pratt, Call Again Cavalier. They come later, but Claire Phillips Capriquin now, experienced combination, 14 years old. Claire, who didn't get round in 2002.
Doubtless William, Emily Mackenzie, 13-year-old thoroughbred, 26-year-old Emily, 22nd here in 2000. But had a fall in 2002, so hoping to go clear this time. Now how she's going to get on here. Lost a pedal, keep going. And that was honest to the horse. Well done, Emily. Well ridden.
Well, here's Daisy Dick, daughter, of course, of the late great steeplechase jockey Dave Dick, with Spring Along. Very good horse that she's brought on quietly. Daisy always really gets a wiggle on and across the country. And she's certainly gone very positively to this stage. James Robinson, the veterinary surgeon with Comanche. Very good dressage, 53.2, puts him right in contention. A man who practices a vet 1 day a week, but spends the rest of the time trying to hone his skills for this sport. And this is a good horse. If they can really get together, they may well surprise us.
Daisy Dick at the Lake, going a great gallop. Just 15.3 Spring Along, but jumps like a buck. Whizzes round that corner into the lake. Very clever and neat through there. Excellent. Very well done. Comanche now at the Hunt Kennels.
Very important that you get the right line here. The horse just shortened up nicely for James. Pops out, well ridden. 5:46 left. As now Spring Along is in the Quarry. One of the feature fences for now 30 years, and she's going the short route. Still has 21 seconds left, and this is a pretty quick round.
Now Leslie Law, sheer H2O, probably the most experienced combination here at Badminton this year. They've been coming here, well, seems forever, been second, third and fifth. And make the little Badminton drop complex look child's play.
Spring Along is at the last with Daisy Dick, and this could be her best performance here at Badminton. Previously that was Headley Bravo in 1997, but goes third on 85.4. She won't stay there, but it's been a good performance for Daisy.
Now James Robinson coming towards the end of the course. The angled logs so far jumped well, and he pops over that okay. 55 seconds to get home. He's gone well. That's not a bad time. Just to remind you, Physiologist still leads on 69.8 from Private Colin and Sam Griffiths. So will he turn right and go the short way? Yes. This is going to put him right up there. If he can come home clean, he's going to be right in the firing line.
Leslie Law, sheer H2O. Jeremy Lawton's full brother is Younger, is the horse that's favoured for Leslie for the Olympic Games. Now he comes to the lake. Oh, and he stops, he comes to nothing, and the effort literally puts Leslie Law out over the horse's neck, and that's not a good sight for Great Britain. Watch it again. The horse very suspicious, drops in short, absolutely stops dead, and Leslie just gets a ducking for his efforts. Well, to add insult to injury, Shearlow's gone for a paddle, and I think that's over for Shearlow and Leslie for this Badminton.
At the last, James Robinson, Comanche, and this has been an excellent round. Look at the time. That's about the quickest we've seen so far, and he goes into second, 70.8. Fantastic round by the vet on Comanche, and another unconsidered combination right at the top. It's all happening here at Badminton.
Well, one or two amateurs, and I'm sure Dr. Vanessa Lloyd-Davies won't mind me saying that she's one of them. Very good horse, this. Big, powerful. She loves to ride it. Dare I say it, but quite eccentric, Vanessa, but she loves her eventing, and she really wants to get round this. She missed the opportunity last year, and she won't mind how long it takes to get round.
Another first-timer for New Zealand, 23-year-old Janelle Richards. And the 11-year-old Mazzetto. These two were fourth in the New Zealand Championships last year. She's gone the long way at the Quarry and is jumping well. Good round by her.
Well, here is the Barcelona individual Olympic champion Matt Ryan, Bonza Puzzle, over the big hay wagon. And now just setting up for these badminton kennels. Bonza Puzzle, a 12-year-old. Matt, again, very much in line for selection for Athens. Oh, and that's lost him his line, I would think. And it has. 20 penalties. He doesn't jump that first kennel cleanly, which loses the balance. And Matt can't recover quickly. He just hadn't got time, in fact. So he quickly corrects his course and curses that he's got those 20 penalties.
Softly, softly, Caroline Powell having her second ride here. Caroline was actually groomed to Ian Stark and Stanik Ghost at the Atlanta Olympics, now getting her chance at the big time.
Well, here's Paul Tapner, very good Australian, who won Brabham here 3 years back with High Point. Softly, softly, owned by Lady Howick up in Northumberland. Caroline, a New Zealander now, living up in the north, married over here, and she's a very good jockey herself. And this little horse, formerly ridden by young Harry Mead, Richard Mead's son, is going very well for Caroline. Clear and really most impressive to this point.
For France now, the first of three French riders we see. Gilles Viricel, 37 years old, on the 13-year-old Black-Ring Millie. Nicely through there, the sunken road.
Paul Tapner now, High Point, based not too far away down here at Wootton Underage, owned by Sarah Smith. Had a very good dressage of 44.8, but in fact has incurred a lot of steeplechase penalties, and one wonders whether they may be altered. Neatly through there.
Yes, with the times being altered for the steeplechase during the day, there will be some adjustments as Gilles finishes for France. We don't see his time, but he's a very happy fella to get round badminton in these conditions.
Well, now Megan Finlayson, her first badminton. Oh, and he runs out at the first kennel this time. And once again, these badminton kennels being the most influential fence on this course. Megan, who won the New Zealand Championships at the lovely Lake Taupo venue, both in 2002 and 2003. Now takes the alternative at a dressage of 61.4. That is really pretty overawed by the huge crowds here at badminton.
Coming towards the end of the course, Paul Tapner and High Point, and he's beginning to struggle, this Polish bred. He's just beginning to labour in these conditions. He's only got 12 seconds to get home. He's going to have plenty of time penalties. Going the long way there. I think Paul sort of accepted the situation. He's just got to nurse him home.
Well, now one of Britain's top young riders, in fact junior champion back in 1996, Tom Robinson, with Conspicuous, combination that's trained by badminton winner, multi-badminton winner Ginny Elliott. Now they come round to this combination across the lake, and this brush has really jumped. Once again, they land very steep, and it really tests the seat of the jockeys, trying to get his position back, all 4 feet over the step there, and really improvises very well, Tom, and looks to be in some discomfort.
Witch doctor for New Zealand now, just 15.3, this little horse, going well for 24-year-old Kate Wood.
Well, here's Cheryl Duke, former European young rider champion from Ireland with Temple Bar, trained by Dorothy Willis over here. And this certainly a combination that Ireland would perhaps be thinking of for Athens, one of the few here at badminton. Jumps out well, and that's what you need, but then, oh, it ducks 6 under. Jumped out well, and then instead of riding on for the 3, Sherelle just hesitated, took another and got too close and got a ducking.
Witch Doctor at the Sunken Road. This combination came over last autumn and were the best placed under 25 combination at Blenheim last year. And she's flying across the country.
Well, here's Amanda Ratcliffe with the ex-Australian horse Foxground Dusky Song, bouncing very nicely through the first of the water combinations.